Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. I am Simply G, and today I'm going to be showing off all of the books, all of the things that I got for the first half of April. As usual, there's a lot to get through. Some I just got today, so I don't really necessarily have much to talk about insofar as having read them, but aside from that, there is a lot of other things to show off, so I'm just going to get straight into it, and I hope you guys enjoy. Before I get into the anime and manga, I have some other books that I got. These were actually Kickstarter rewards for the Sparkler monthly annual Kickstarter they have. Some of these books were ones that I just needed to get. I don't follow everything in Sparkler monthly, but these ones I had either wanted to get for a long time or just felt like I needed to close some gaps, because I do have some of their books as well. If you're not familiar with Sparkler Monthly, it's a monthly digital magazine that has a bunch of comics as well as prose, so short stories that are very much inspired by Japanese media and sort of manga, and a lot of them are very female focused or LGBT focused, so if that sounds like your thing, maybe check them out. But I got 3 books, 2 comics, and 1 prose. The first comic being Maho Josei Chimaka by Kaiju. This is a magical girl story where the magical girl has sort of grown up after sort of failing, losing the day, and now having to find her own new destiny as a older working woman. Really, really lovely and a fun little book. The second comic is the first book of Knights Errant, which is amazing, by Jennifer Doyle. This is by far one of my favorite comics in the magazine, and I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you do like sort of historical, semi-fantasy stuff. Really, really, really wonderful, definite adventure story, and again with sort of an LGBT focus to it, so if that sounds like your thing, definitely check it out. And the third book I got was actually a prose book, and this is the light novel, quote unquote, Decoy and Retrofit by Hazel and Bell. Really, really looking forward to this one. It's a post-apocalyptic setting, and I haven't yet had a chance to read it. As I said, it is prose, so, you know, words with sometimes pictures. Really, really happy to have this. This one is one of Sparkler Monthly's newer titles when this Kickstarter was running, so I haven't really had a chance to look into it. So I hope to read this very, very soon. Now, on to anime. We have the Japanese Blu-ray release, standard Blu-ray release of Library War: The Wings of Revolution. This is the sequel film to the television show that I showed off the Blu-rays for in my last pickups video. Because this is a Japanese release, it is a little pricier, but this is the only way that you can actually buy this film on Blu-ray or at DVD outside or at all. It's never been licensed in the US, and it does have English subtitles, so if you are wanting to watch the follow-up, this is by far the best way. I talked about Library War, the main series, previously on my pickups video. This is a story about a alternate future Japan in which the government has become overly critical of media in general, so there's a lot of media censorship, and in order to protect the freedom of speech and protect sort of free-thinking individuals, libraries are the last bastion of from the censorship. And in order to protect them, they have the library force, of which our 2 main characters are a part of. Really, really wonderful, sort of dystopic sci-fi almost. Definitely has echoes of a lot of other similar stories, but really, really good. And I'm so glad to have this Blu-ray set that I can put with my television show and have the whole set on Blu-ray again in the collection. Next are some things that I actually found through Facebook Marketplace. Incredibly enough, I didn't really expect to find anything, but I checked and there were some really amazing deals for some things that I never would have expected. So the first thing I got was the entire collection, the complete collection of Toward the Terra. This is the more recent anime show adaptation of this series. This is based off of the Terra manga, a one that I own and really, really love. It's a sci-fi written in the 70s about like humanity and the future, and then also this race of psychic entities or beings called the Mu, and then their clash with each other. There's a lot of sort of speculative questioning on, you know, what is humanity, what makes people people, and this idea of genocide and all of these different things. So it is a serious sci-fi. This is not the first anime adaptation of this series. It does also have a film from the 90s called Toward the Terra as well. But because it is a shorter manga series, this is a 24 or 26 episode show, so there's a lot more like expanded to it and added to it. Each part, the manga, the film, and this show are quite different. They're the same story, but adapted in different ways and emphasizing different things. I really, really enjoy this show, but it is one of the few Bandai series that hasn't gotten rescued or re-released by another company. I do also previously own this series on singles, so I'm hoping to find those a new home now that I found this, because it was too good of an offer to pass up, and I'm happy for the show, someone else to enjoy it as well. The second Facebook Marketplace thing that I got was the single disc Viz/Pioneer OVA release of Please Save My Earth, another shoujo sci-fi manga adaptation. This is another story set in the future about a group of scientists on a base on the moon who start to have these weird recurring dreams, and they realize that they're actually their reincarnated past selves, and they have a lot of like different destinies and things like that. All of their previous lives intertwined in various ways. This is a manga that I've always wanted to read, but it is incredibly out of print, so I saw this for sale, very, very, very cheap, decided to pick it up, and I hope to watch it soon. This is a series that, again, a lot of people really love, and it's really considered a classic. It's a shame that we aren't necessarily able to find it readily anymore. I'm not sure if there's a digital edition of this manga on Kindle or anything, but I hope to watch this 6-episode series soon. Because it is only 6 episodes, the manga itself is like very, very long, so I'm not expecting it to be a full adaptation, but I've heard this OVA is really decent and a really solid run of episodes, so I'm looking forward to it. On to manga, we have the second volume of Versailles of the Dead by Kumiko Suikane. This is a historical supernatural series set in pre-revolutionary France, where zombies have infested, and our main character is the stand-in, sort of, for Marie Antoinette. She has a large secret herself. She's actually Marie's twin brother, or younger brother, who has taken her place after she was killed by zombies on their way to France from Austria. And now it's implied that he's possessed by a demon, and then there's also angels. There's a lot of different things going on in this book, but I really enjoy Suikane's work. Her other previous series, After School Charisma, also had a historical element, although that was a sci-fi. You can tell that she really enjoys making stories with very prominent historical figures and a lot of like speculative history stuff. It's really, really fun. Quite dark and very surprising. It is a zombie manga, as I said, but there are other things going on and a lot of mystery to it as to the motivations and even the realities of like how are zombies a thing in this world. Lots of questions, not too many answers, but I'm really looking forward to the next volume of this. Next is the third volume of My Boy by Hitomi Takano. This is a wonderful, wonderful series being put out by Vertical about a 30-odd-year-old woman who befriends a young boy and their relationship and sort of finding each other and realizing their loneliness through each other. It's so, so lovely. The premise can be sort of something that people might not be comfortable with, but I think it's executed really, really well. And I really love how it actually addresses a lot of the issues that I think some of the audience may have. There is a time skip at the end of this particular volume, and as to how that goes, we will see in volume 4. But this series continues to be lovely. It continues to not have any like super problematic elements to it that would make me personally uncomfortable to read. It hasn't, done the bait and switch as of yet. I don't know if it ever will, but there is always that possibility. But as of now, I'm still very confident with the story. This particular volume did actually make me cry. It was very, very heart-wrenching and sad and so many things. So obviously a really wonderful series, and I hope that it continues to be one, or do so over the next couple volumes, over the foreseeable future. And volume 4 cannot come quickly enough. Next is another one of Drawn and Quarterly's Kitaro collections. This is Kitaro the Vampire Slayer. Obviously, like with The Birth of Kitaro, this is just a collection of selected Kitaro stories by Shigeru Mizuki. This is such a good manga. I really, really love it. It's not for everyone. It does show its age. It does have its rough patches, and each chapter is, self-contained, so it is very episodic. But you can really see the creativity, the interesting just imagination that this story continues to have, and you can see why Kitaro is still such an important figure, very popular piece of media within Japan. I spoke about this in one of my last pickups videos when I got the first book. This is not the second one of these released, it's just one of the more recent ones that was very, very cheaply priced that I could find locally. But I do hope to collect the rest of them over the next year. If you enjoy yokai manga, this is really the origin of all of your favorites. It's what started an interest in these types of stories and with like weird non-human characters. And it just is, even now, so, so good. Very timeless quality to Kitaro. So yeah, really happy that we are seeing these collected books from Drawn and Quarterly to have an opportunity to read this story in some format. Next is Dark Horse's recent release of Mob Psycho 100 Volume 2 by One. Another really wonderful series and my favorite of One's work. This story, or this manga, never ceases to make me laugh, and it just has some really great messages as well. There is a pretty major fight in this part of the manga, as you can see, and although people don't necessarily enjoy One's art style, I find it very, very effective. Look how great the reaction faces are. You really cannot capture that with a more realistic style. But then even comparatively, like the Tsuchinoko, that's not bad drawing, obviously. So it's not that, in my opinion, it's not that One is a bad artist. It's just their style seems unrefined compared to others. But I think it's very, very purposeful, and it's drawn that way for a reason. And I've gone into this before, but really, really adore this series. I'm so happy that Dark Horse is putting it out, especially considering a lot of people didn't have much hope for poor Mob after the second season. It has just recently ended, but there was no real sight for the anime or the manga to be licensed. Luckily, Dark Horse proved us wrong, and the third volume is solicited. I am trying to buy them as soon as I possibly can, pre-ordering them just because I do want to show an interest in this series so we can get all of it. It's 16 volumes, it's complete in Japan, and I don't want to be left hanging with only half of the books. So please support this series, especially if you are a fan of Mob Psycho or this creator. Next we have something a little bit more esoteric, and this is Iceland by Yuichi Yokoyama. This book was released by Retrofit in English, and if you're not familiar with Yokoyama, he is an alternative or indie mangaka with a very, very geometric art style, as you can see. This particular book is about 3 friends looking for their 4th friend, and that's pretty much it. It's a short little book, there's not a huge amount to it, but it is very, very much in Yokoyama's style, and I think there's a lot that he plays around with. It's not something for everyone, it's not a must-get for most people. I found it for very, very cheap locally, and it's usually, this is quite an easy book to find. It's still in print and relatively prolific, but a lot of Yokoyama's work isn't. So if you are interested in his stuff, it will be harder to find his other books. But I'm just happy to have this one. If I never get any more of his comics, it would be a shame, but it's not top priority for me. But yeah, really, really, really happy to have this little book. Next we have our Kodansha stuff, and this is a book new debut that I've been highly anticipating ever since it was announced. I'm really, really excited for this one. It's a magical adventure, and that is Witch Hat Atelier by Camus Tehama, who is probably most well known because they are a Marvel artist. They've done a lot of cover art for Marvel stuff, I believe. Yeah, DC and Marvel. Okay, so I was not wrong. But this is about a girl sort of in magic school, I believe. I haven't had a chance to read this one yet because I literally just got it today. But the artwork is beautiful, as you can see. It's just so lush and vibrant and magical, as it should be, as is expected for the setting. I'm really, really, really looking forward to this one. This is one of my highly anticipated debuts for the year, and I'm sure it will not disappoint. It does have releases in other countries already, and it seems to be critically acclaimed everywhere. So really, really, really happy to be reading this one. It is definitely the first thing I'm going to be reading as soon as this video is done. Then we have volume 7 of Again by Mitra Kubo. This means we're officially halfway through this wonderful, or more than halfway through this wonderful manga. It's only 12 volumes long. A time travel drama about a teenage boy who is sent 3 years to the past, so has the opportunity to relive his high school years and try and change things, considering that he knows what's going to happen in the future, and try to see if his life changes. It is so wonderful. It's so funny, and I've said this before, but I adore Mitsuru Kubo's art style. I really like how she writes characters. I really like how everyone interacts with each other. It's just such a fun, funny series, and it's very unpredictable. The premise sounds like it could be pretty one note or quite generic, or like you know what's going to happen, but really it isn't at all. And with this book we are thrown into another element, which it was totally unexpected. Really, really fun, wild ride to see what this manga is even doing. You can never quite tell what Kubo is planning, and I am totally up for that. I love this manga, and as soon as the new volume comes in, I just tear through it because it is really easy to read as well. Very fast and quick and upbeat. It's just wonderful. Definitely one of my favorite ongoing series currently, and I'm going to be sad when it's over, but at the same time, I feel like I will be extremely satisfied when it's over as well. Finally, for Kodansha, we have the third Eternal edition for Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon by Naoko Takeuchi. This is the third of these collector Kanzenban fantastic editions. I've said this with these books before. These are not really necessary unless you are like a really focused on collecting the best version of everything you can. It has an updated translation, which is always good. It is huge, as you can tell. Wonderful archival quality. The pages are beautiful. But it is something that I would say more so for dedicated Sailor Moon fans. There are cheaper previous releases of this story, but it is a series that affords this type of release. Obviously, a huge cultural phenomena. It's nostalgic for an entire generation of anime and manga fans, and it, if nothing else, it is definitely deserving of all of the praise. It is a great story. I'm not entirely nostalgic for Sailor Moon. I never read or watched it when I was within the age range. It's more so for, or when it was popular and on TV. But even so, it is one that I've loved reading, and I have actually gone back and reread a couple times in the previous editions. So having these beautiful, beautiful books is just such a treat. And I'm so glad that more manga are seeing these sorts of collectors, high quality pieces for people who do want sort of the best version of their favorite stories. But of course, as I said, there are older, cheaper versions of these books that are readily available, so it doesn't totally price out everyone who wants to enjoy this story either. So really, really happy, and I'm a little bit behind because the fourth one of these series, or these releases, comes out very soon. So I haven't actually pre-ordered it yet. I don't know if I'm going to be taking a break from these books, but we'll have to see. Next is Viz Stuff, with the only shoujo beat title that I got being Volume 17 of Yoona of the Dawn by Mizuho Kusanagi. This is, as I'm sure most people are aware, the historical fantasy story about Yoona, a princess who is exiled from the castle and is now traveling across her nation with her bodyguard and the 4 dragons from legend, all young men with incredible powers and magic. Really, 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 really good book. This one was really good. This series continues to be wonderful and just continues to get better and better and better with every new volume. This particular volume has a bonus chapter in regards to this character on the front here, his backstory and sort of his life before the series. We also learn about another dragon, or is hinted at with another dragon's powers in the end of this book as well. It's always, always a joy to read Yoona, and it's so, exciting every time a new volume comes out. And I really wish we would get these more often, because we are still a little bit behind. But at the same time, we do get these books every 2 months, which is a hugely fast turnover rate, and I could not be happier. But wonderful shoujo with an older feel to it, with this fantasy setting and sort of a reverse harem setup. But I wouldn't really say it. I wouldn't really but I wouldn't really frame it in that sense. I don't really see it as a hugely romance-focused series, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. It's one that I think a lot of people would enjoy, even if you're not a fan of shoujo manga, so definitely try it out. And I hope we see Volume 18 very soon, because, man, that was a cliffhanger. Catching up on some Shonen Jump stuff with Volume 17 and 18 of My Hero Academia by Kohei Horikoshi. This is a wonderful, as I'm sure everyone knows, superhero manga about teens in Japan who live in this society that has quirks. So most people have weird powers, and our main character is now trying to become a great hero after gaining powers later on in life due to having met his lifelong idol. It's a wonderful, wonderful series. I'm keeping up to date with it mostly. I'm a little bit behind on it currently via the Shonen Jump app, so I have actually read what's in these volumes. It is definitely very popular, and it's very understandable as to why. I think it appeals a lot to a lot of very popular things, and I think a lot of people can connect to it or enjoy it very easily. It's not my favorite thing to ever come out of Shonen Jump, but it is a very, very, very good series, and I can totally see why it is definitely sort of this generation's sort of like Bleach or Naruto, or something that introduces them to manga or anime, gets them involved in this type of media. And especially with superheroes being such a hugely prominent thing within media currently, it's really no question as to why My Hero Academia is so popular. But it must be said that Horikoshi does it very, very well. It's executed pretty much perfectly, and from this point, the story just gets better and better. I don't think the manga has yet had like a real lull or low point, which some other longer similar types of manga have. So of course we are still sort of in early days for this type of shonen, so who knows what'll happen going forward. But as of now, some great characters, great stuff, great stories, and I have the next couple volumes pre-ordered, but at volume 20 I think I'm going to stop and then just wait until I see how long it is and evaluate on whether or not I want to buy the rest of it once it's all finished. Another collector's edition release, Kanzenban edition, with the Fullmetal Alchemist Fullmetal Edition Volume 4 by Hiromu Arakawa. Of course, I really don't need to make any introduction for this series on my channel. You guys know I am a huge Fullmetal Alchemist fan, and similarly to the Sailor Moon books, this is a beautiful release hardcover rather than this larger trim size, but still archival quality paper, beautiful color pages when is needed, and is just really, really high quality. Much more so than I think other Viz hardcover releases, even stuff like JoJo and that are coming out currently. Really, really another series that I think is hugely popular for a good reason. It is nostalgic for a lot of people, including myself, but it also has just really established and proved itself to be, a classic within this medium and within manga and anime in general. It's a phenomenal series, definitely one I encourage most people to read, but again, like with Sailor Moon, there are older, cheaper releases of this story. The single editions, the box set with all 27 volumes, or the 3-in-1 editions, all very easy to find, to read. So if you haven't yet read this story or watched the anime, I would encourage you to read those if you're not super committed to it. But this, like with Sailor Moon, is definitely a fan and collectors focused piece. It's for people who are already aware of the story, who already love it, who are already willing to pay money for a super flashy collector's edition, which is me. So really, really happy. I'm so glad that these Kanzenban editions have made their way to us English speakers, and I'm looking forward to owning the full 18 volumes. They are so, so lovely, and it's always a joy rereading this series whenever I get one of these new books. Finally, I have a BL title. This is by Sublime, so Viz's BL imprint, and this is The World's Greatest First Love, The Case of Ritsu Onodera, Volume 12 by Shungiku Nakamura. This, as many of you guys who have watched my videos for a long time will know, is definitely a guilty pleasure for me. I need to be careful opening this because you never know what you're going to open up on. It can get quite explicit quite quickly in this series, so I hesitate to open this too readily when we head towards the back, so I'm just going to stop there. But this is definitely my favorite of Nakamura's works. I really don't like her other major work, which is Junjo Romantica. Too many problems for me. This series also has problems, but I don't know, I'm maybe a little bit more forgiving on it. I think elements of it are done better, so although there's still a lot of problems with the series, it's not any worse than sort of the most general BL you could find from the mid-2000s. This is an ongoing work as well, I must add, but it's sort of not worse, not better than anything else that was coming out at the time. So if you're familiar with BL and its tropes, then you pretty much know what to expect. The story itself is about a young man in his early 20s, well, mid-20s maybe, who in his childhood had his heart broken by his first love, and it was very terrible. He's never fallen in love since. He's sort of sworn against it, but he reunites with his first love through work. He actually ends up working under him at a shoujo manga magazine. He's become an editor, and now they're trying to kind of, after they realize who each other are, they're trying to build a relationship again, but our main character is hesitant or doesn't want to admit like when he's falling in love because he was so hurt before, and then all of these other things. It's not, as I said, there's a lot of problems with it. It's not the best type of story and definitely not the best BL coming out currently, but it's one I have a soft spot for. And I never expected this series to be licensed, so the fact that it has been, I'm buying it. It's, you know, it's what you expect for the time you put into it. I also really like the other main couple in the manga, which is Kisa and Yukine, and they have a chapter in this book, and I'm really happy. But yeah, it's not for everyone, and even for BL fans, you know, it's more generic, but I think most people are aware of it, because of just how popular Nakamura is. But yeah, you know, not everything is gonna be a go for it Nakamura, and not everything is going to be I hear the sunspot. This is one that's just kind of like, okay, well, you know, this is what I'm spending my time on. So that is everything that I got for this first half of April. I got quite a few manga than I expected, and also plus some anime. I wasn't really expecting to buy any anime or get any anime this first half of the month. So always, as usual, more than I expected, but a lot of really exciting things. Really anticipating this book here to read very, very soon. Yeah, just a lot of good stuff. Really happy with the mix that I seem to be able to balance between the genres and the types of stories, the demographics. But let me know your thoughts on any of these series that I talked about today. Let me know about your own pickups, if you're reading any of these, or if there's something that I've missed. As always, my link to my Twitter is in the description below. You can either contact me on there or, you know, message me, or leave a comment. I always read those and try to respond as much as I can. I also, as usual, have my Book Depository affiliate link in the description below, which if you use, you not only get free worldwide shipping at great prices with great customer service, but you also help me out. No obligation to use it, but it's there. If you are like me, outside of the US, don't always have the best deals and the most access to like online shopping. It's really wonderful, especially for buying books of all sorts. Also, if you haven't watched it yet or you're not aware of it, I did recently post a video with my sister M where we talk about anime, a bunch of different things, most notably Mob Psycho 100, the ending of season 2 that just finished. We also talked about the Fruits Basket reboot debut and Kimetsu no Yaiba. We talk about Dororo, which is ongoing from MAPPA Studio, and we also talk about the second Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel movie, of which both of us have some opinions on. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, that I will also link in the description. It's a long video, but I did put timestamps in there so you can skip around and listen to just the parts that you want to. She was really sort of nervous about it and wants to hear you guys' thoughts on that. So feedback on any of the videos that I do is great, but especially that one. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye till then.